The Lord be with you. Welcome to another edition of Anglican FAQ, a ministry of Holy Cross Cathedral in Loganville, Georgia. Today we're tackling the question that I have right here. What's the difference between Anglican and Episcopalian? Now, those two terms can be used in different ways, but when someone asks that question, they're usually asking about the difference between Anglican and Episcopalian in the North American context. And what they're asking about is the difference between the ACNA, on the one hand, the Anglican Church in North America, and what's called ACUSA, or the Episcopal Church of the United States of America, right? So that's the distinction that is being made there. Let's start with the ACNA first. The ACNA was formed in 2009 formally, and it is in line with and in communion with the vast majority of the Anglican communion around the world. So it's represented by a couple of groups that have been formative and led the way in making these fellowships and this communion come together. On the one hand, you have GAFCON. GAFCON is not a province or a diocese or something like that. GAFCON is simply a movement of orthodox, Bible-believing, doctrinally conservative Anglicans around the world coming together for the purpose of fellowship and mission. GAFCON also famously issued in Jerusalem at a gathering together what's called the Jerusalem Declaration. The Jerusalem Declaration is now found in the 2019 prayer book, which is ACNA's prayer book. It's also represented by something called the GSFA, the Global South Fellowship of Anglicans. This is, again, a collection of churches within the Anglican communion who are pressing for orthodoxy within the worldwide Anglican communion. What you have here is a fraternity around Anglican doctrine and practice. You have, the vast majority of the Anglican communion committed to orthodox belief and practice. And this movement is being centered around that. Now, on the other side of this, you have the Episcopal Church USA. And this represents, although it still has clout and is somewhat bigger in terms of numbers, this actually represents the vast minority of the Anglican Church worldwide in terms of its commitments, in terms of what it's about. So it represents the vast minority, but it's better resourced in terms of buildings and funds. However, you have to make a side note there and say, the estimates are telling us that in the coming years, many of the parishes within the Episcopal Church are going to collapse and close simply because of generational realities and the fact that many of its members are older and will eventually die. Now, ACUSA and sort of the stream of churches represented here is represented again by the Episcopal Church, the Anglican Church of Canada, and the Church of England. What these churches really highlight is their alignment with Canterbury, with the Archbishop of Canterbury and the historicity of their churches. So they're going to highlight that versus orthodox doctrine and doctrinal alignment together. Their fraternity is going to be one gathered around the Archbishop of Canterbury. Notice that all of these churches are theologically liberal and aligned in that way. So again, the Archbishop of Canterbury becomes a center point for them, not their doctrine. Now, what was one of the breaking points between Anglican, the ACNA, on the one hand, and the churches they represent, and then ACUSA and the Church of England on the other side? Well, within North America, the breaking point was the 2003 election of Gene Robinson, who was an openly gay and partnered bishop as a bishop. So his election as a bishop in 2003 was really a breaking point that pressed things beyond staying within the Episcopal Church. And of course, the point needs to be made that the churches of the ACNA, largely in the first generation, came out of the Episcopal Church, although they would not characterize that way. They would say that their church left them. They wouldn't say that they left their church. Now, we need to say that this symptom of a openly gay partnered bishop being elected was actually not so much the problem as a symptom of a larger problem. So again, not so much the problem per se, but simply a symptom of disease, a symptom of a larger problem. And what is that larger problem? The larger problem is infidelity to the scriptures, infidelity to the Christian faith, and to the Christian faith as particularly we have received it in the Anglican Church and in the Anglican tradition. Now, I do want to be charitable and say that despite the deep problems within the Episcopal Church, that does not mean that there are no good parishes left in the Episcopal Church. In fact, there's an entire diocese in the Diocese of Central Florida under Bishop Justin Holcomb, that diocese is known to be a very conservative Orthodox diocese. So that doesn't mean that there aren't any Christians left or any good parishes left in the Episcopal Church. But the fact is that these two churches, the ACNA and the Episcopal Church USA, are not in communion with one another. There are deep divisions, and ever since the inception of the ACNA has not stopped calling the Episcopal Church to repentance, and that call has, by its leadership at least, gone unheeded to this very day. God bless you. We'll see you soon on Anglican FAQ.